Long before the rise of modern civilization, before great empires dominated the Mediterranean, the people of ancient Greece told stories that shaped their understanding of the world. These stories were more than simple myths. They were explanations for thunder and storms, for love and war, and for the mysteries that surrounded human life. The Greeks believed that powerful gods ruled the universe from high above the clouds, watching over the earth from a sacred mountain called Olympus. These gods were not distant or silent. They influenced the world constantly. They helped heroes, punished the arrogant, and sometimes created chaos simply because it suited them. But among these gods and legends lived another kind of figure, not immortal, but not entirely ordinary either. Heroes. Men whose strength, courage, or intelligence allowed them to accomplish what no normal human could ever hope to achieve. Some heroes were warriors, others were clever leaders, but one hero stood above them all. A man whose name would echo across thousands of years of storytelling. Hercules. To the ancient Greeks, he was known as Heracles, the greatest hero of their mythology, a warrior whose strength seemed almost divine. But Hercules was not simply a man who defeated monsters. His life was filled with tragedy, mistakes, and suffering. In fact, the trials that made him famous were not something he chose for himself. They were punishment. A series of impossible tasks forced upon him by the gods themselves. These challenges would later become known as the 12 labors of Hercules. Each one would push him closer to death. Each one would test his strength, intelligence, and endurance. And yet, somehow, through determination and courage, Hercules would survive them all. But before the hero faced his first monster, before his legendary labors began, there was another story unfolding. A story that began high above the earth, on Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. High above the mountains of Greece, hidden among clouds and storms, the ancient Greeks imagined a place where the gods lived together in splendor, Mount Olympus. Here stood magnificent palaces made of shining gold and marble, where immortal beings gathered to watch over the world below. At the center of this divine court sat the most powerful figure in Greek mythology, Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus ruled the skies and commanded the thunder. His lightning bolts were symbols of authority and power. No other god could challenge his position as ruler of Olympus. Yet Zeus was also known for another reason. He was endlessly fascinated by the world of mortals. Again and again, Zeus left Olympus and walked among human beings. Sometimes he disguised himself as a traveler or king. Sometimes he appeared in other forms entirely. It was during one of these visits to the mortal world that Zeus met a woman named Alcmene. She was not a goddess or a queen. She was simply a mortal woman known for her intelligence and beauty. But their meeting would change mythology forever. Because from this encounter, a child would be born. A child with the blood of a god and the life of a mortal. This child would grow up to become Hercules. Yet his birth would also ignite the anger of one of the most powerful figures on Olympus, the queen of the gods herself, Hera. Hera ruled Olympus beside Zeus as queen of the gods. She was the goddess of marriage and family, protector of sacred vows and household harmony. But Hera was also fiercely proud and deeper jealous. Zeus had many affairs with mortal women, and each one tested Hera's patience. Yet when she learned about the child born from Zeus and Alcmene, her anger grew stronger than ever before. Because this child was not just another mortal. He carried the blood of Zeus. That meant he might one day become powerful, perhaps even powerful enough to threaten the order of Olympus. Hera could not punish Zeus himself, but the child suffer. From the moment Hercules was born, Hera vowed that his life would never be easy. She would watch him carefully. She would wait patiently. And when the moment came, she would destroy him. Her first attempt came while Hercules was still an infant. One quiet night, when the household slept and the nursery was silent, two enormous serpents slithered into the world. These creatures were not ordinary animals. They had been sent by Hera herself. Their task was simple: kill the child before he's the chance to grow you're a hero. The snakes approached the cradle slowly, their bodies coiling around the sleeping infant. But Hercules was no ordinary baby. As the serpents moved closer, the child, whose broad, instead of crying out in fear, he reached out with both hands and grabbed them. Moments later, servants rushed into the room, into the world, after proud words. The infant Hercules lay calmly in his cradle. In each hand, he held the lifeless body of a giant snake. Even as a baby, the child of famous broad strength far beyond any modern human. But Hera's hatred at only correct. As Hercules grew older, his extraordinary strength became impossible to ignore. Teachers trained him in combat, teaching him how to wield weapons and defend himself in battle. Mentors taught him discipline, strategy, and the responsibilities that came with power. Stories quickly spread throughout Greece about the young warrior whose strength seemed almost supernatural. Hercules could wrestle grown men to the ground with ease. He could lift stones that no other soldier could move. Yet, despite his power, Hercules was not known for cruelty or arrogance. He was respected for his kindness and loyalty. Eventually, he married and began building a family of his own. For a time, it seemed as though his life might become peaceful. But Hera had not forgotten the child she once tried to destroy. And when she finally decided to act again, the consequences would change Hercules' life forever. Hera did not attack Hercules with monsters or storms. Instead, she used something far more dangerous: madness. One night, she sent a powerful curse that clouded Hercules' mind. In an instant, his thoughts became confused, his vision blurred. The world around him seemed filled with enemies and threats. Unable to tell reality from illusion, Hercules believed he was fighting for his life. When the madness finally lifted, the terrible truth became clear. The people he had believed were enemies had actually been his own family. The realization shattered him. The greatest warrior in Greece had committed an unforgivable act. Overwhelmed with grief, Hercules knew he could never simply return to his old life. If he wanted redemption, he would have to seek judgment from the gods themselves. Hercules travelled to a sacred place known throughout the ancient world, the Temple of Delphi. Here lived the oracle of Apollo, a priestess believed to speak with the voice of the gods. People from across Greece travelled great distances to ask her questions and receive divine guidance. When Hercules arrived, he sought only one thing: a way to atone for his actions. The oracle delivered the gods' decision. If Hercules wished to be forgiven, he would have to serve a mortal king named Eurystheus. And during that service, he would be required to complete 12 labours. Each task would be nearly impossible. Each one would place his life in terrible danger. But if he survived them all, the gods would grant him redemption. The first task given to Hercules seemed simple at first. King Eurystheus ordered him to travel to the region of Nemea and kill a terrifying beast that had been terrorizing the countryside. But this creature was no ordinary animal. It was known as the Nemean Lion, a monstrous predator whose strength and ferocity had already defeated many hunters. Villagers lived in constant fear of it, and no warrior who had attempted to kill the beast had returned alive. The lion possessed one extraordinary advantage. Its golden fur was said to be completely impenetrable. Spears bounced harmlessly away. Arrows shattered against its hide. When Hercules arrived in Nemea, he quickly realized that traditional weapons would not work. He tracked the beast through forests and rocky hills until he finally located its cave. The lion had 2 entrances, giving it an easy escape from danger. To prevent the creature from fleeing, Hercules blocked one entrance with massive stones. Then he stepped inside. In the darkness of the cave, the hero faced the monster directly. The battle was brutal. The lion lunged with claws and teeth, its roar echoing through the cavern walls. Hercules fought with his club at first, but soon realized the weapon was useless. So he dropped it. Instead, Hercules relied on the only weapon powerful enough to defeat the beast: his own strength. After a violent struggle, the hero wrapped his arms around the lion's neck and squeezed with all his might. Slowly, the monster's strength faded. When the fight ended, the Nemean lion lay defeated. But Hercules still faced another challenge. No knife or blade could cut through the creature's impenetrable hide. Finally, he discovered a solution. Using the lion's own claws, Hercules was able to remove the skin. From that day forward, the lion's hide became his armor, and the creature's head served as a helmet. With the first labor complete, Hercules returned to King Eurystheus. But the king, terrified by the hero's power, realized something troubling. If Hercules could defeat such a monster so easily, the remaining tasks would need to be even more dangerous. For the second labour, Eurystheus sent Hercules to the swamps of Lerna. Here lived a creature that many considered even more terrifying than the lion: the Hydra. This enormous serpent-like monster possessed multiple heads. According to legend, whenever one head was cut off, two more would grow in its place. Even worse, the Hydra's breath and blood were said to be deadly poison. Approaching the swamp was dangerous enough. The thick fog and muddy ground made movement slow and difficult. But Hercules was not alone on this journey. Accompanying him was his nephew and loyal companion, Aeolus. When the Hydra finally emerged from the water, the battle began immediately. Hercules struck at the creature's heads with his sword. One fell to the ground. But just as the stories had warned, two new heads immediately grew from the wound. The hero quickly realized that brute strength alone would not defeat this monster. Working together, Hercules and Aeolus devised a strategy. Each time Hercules cut off one of the Hydra's heads, Aeolus used a burning torch to cauterize the wound. The fire prevented new heads from growing. Slowly, the creature weakened. Finally, Hercules destroyed the last remaining head. But one of the Hydra's heads was immortal and could not be killed. Instead, Hercules buried it beneath a massive stone. To ensure the Hydra's defeat would benefit him in future battles, Hercules dipped his arrows into the monster's poisonous blood. From that moment forward, those arrows became deadly weapons, capable of killing even the strongest enemies. The second labour was complete. Yet Eurystheus refused to count it fully, claiming Hercules had received help. So the king added another challenge to the hero's list. The labours would now total 12. The third labour was unlike the previous ones. Instead of killing a monster, Hercules was ordered to capture a sacred animal alive. The creature was known as the Lernaean Hind. This deer was no ordinary animal. It possessed golden antlers and bronze hooves, and it moved with incredible speed. Even more dangerous was the fact that the hind belonged to the goddess Artemis. Harming it would bring the wrath of a powerful deity. Hercules, therefore, had to capture the animal without injuring it. What followed was one of the longest pursuits of the hero's life. For nearly a full year, Hercules chased the hind across forests, mountains, and rivers. The animal was swift and elusive, always staying just beyond reach. Finally, after months of pursuit, Hercules managed to trap the hind near a riverbank. Using careful skill rather than brute force, he captured the creature without causing it harm. As he carried the sacred deer back to Eurystheus, he encountered Artemis herself. The goddess demanded to know why her animal had been taken. Hercules explained his situation honestly. Recognizing that the hero was acting under orders, Artemis allowed him to continue, on the condition that the hind would later be released. With the third labour complete, Hercules once again proved that strength alone did not define a hero. Sometimes patience and wisdom were just as important. For the fourth labour, Hercules travelled to the mountains of Erymanthus. There lived a massive wild boar that terrorised nearby villages. The beast was enormous, powerful enough to destroy farms and kill hunters who attempted to stop it. Instead of killing the creature, Hercules was ordered to capture it alive. Tracking the boar through snowy mountains was not easy. The animal was strong and unpredictable. But Hercules eventually found a clever solution. He chased the boar into deep snow high in the mountains. As the animal struggled through the heavy snowdrifts, it became slower and weaker. Finally, the exhausted beast collapsed. Hercules bound the creature and carried it back to Eurystheus. According to legend, the king was so frightened when he saw the enormous boar that he hid inside a giant bronze jar. The fifth labor was unusual. Instead of facing a monster, Hercules was ordered to clean the massive stables of King Augeas. These stables housed thousands of cattle and had not been cleaned for decades. The filth was unimaginable. The task seemed impossible. But Hercules solved it with remarkable ingenuity. He diverted the courses of 2 nearby rivers and redirected their waters through the stables. Within a single day, the flowing water washed away the accumulated filth. The task was complete. Yet, once again, Eurystheus refused to count the labor properly, claiming Hercules had used a trick rather than pure effort. Next, Hercules traveled to a lake known as Stymphalia. Here lived a flock of monstrous birds with sharp metallic feathers. These creatures attacked humans and destroyed crops. The birds hid deep within marshlands, making them difficult to approach. The goddess Athena offered Hercules assistance by giving him a pair of magical rattles, forged by the god Hephaestus. When Hercules shook the rattles, the loud sound frightened the birds into the air. Once they were exposed, Hercules used his poisoned arrows to shoot many of them down. The remaining birds fled the region. The seventh labor took Hercules to the island of Crete. There, he encountered a giant bull that had been rampaging across the countryside. The creature was incredibly strong and difficult to control. But Hercules managed to wrestle the bull to the ground and capture it alive. In the land of Thrace lived King Diomedes and his terrifying horses. These animals had been trained to feed on human flesh. Hercules defeated the cruel king and calmed the horses, bringing them under control. The ninth labor sent Hercules to the land of the Amazons. Their queen, Hippolyta, possessed a magical belt. At first, Hippolyta agreed to give it to him peacefully, but Hera spread rumors that Hercules planned to kidnap the queen. A battle broke out, and Hercules was forced to fight his way out. Far to the west lived a giant named Geryon. He possessed 3 bodies joined together and guarded a herd of magnificent red cattle. Hercules defeated the giant with his poisoned arrows and drove the cattle across vast lands back to Greece. The 11th labor required Hercules to obtain the golden apples of the Hesperides. These sacred fruits were guarded by a dragon and watched over by the Titan Atlas. Hercules convinced Atlas to retrieve the apples while he temporarily held up the sky. After receiving the apples, Hercules cleverly tricked Atlas into taking the burden back. The final labor was the most dangerous. Hercules was ordered to enter the underworld itself. There, he encountered the three-headed guardian dog, Cerberus. Without weapons, Hercules wrestled the beast into submission and brought it to the surface before returning it safely. After completing the 12 labors, Hercules had accomplished what no mortal had ever done. His strength, endurance, and determination had carried him through challenges that would have destroyed any other hero. Yet his story did not end there. After many more adventures, Hercules eventually died as a mortal. But Zeus honored his son by welcoming him to Olympus. There, Hercules was granted immortality. The hero who had once struggled for redemption had become something greater, a god among the immortals. And for thousands of years, his legend has continued to inspire people across the world. Because the story of Hercules reminds us that true greatness is not defined by strength alone. It is defined by perseverance, by courage, and by the willingness to rise again, no matter how impossible the challenge may seem. Subscribe and follow Gods and Empire for more mythological documentaries.